Hey everyone, my name is Jake. I'm 26 years old and I'm from Brazil. Just 5 months ago, I couldn't speak a single full sentence in English, not even something as simple as, "How are you?" without overthinking it. I was completely lost. Today, I want to share how I learned to speak English in just 5 months, without spending a fortune on classes, without traveling to an English-speaking country, and without wasting time on useless methods. But this isn't just my story. If you've ever felt stuck, frustrated, or even embarrassed about your English, this is your story too. I've been exactly where you are, and if you stay with me through my full journey, step by step, you'll know exactly how to improve your English. Let's go back to the beginning, because my journey didn't start with motivation. It started with failure. A big one that changed my life. I always dreamed of working for an international company. My goal was to become a software engineer at a major tech firm. I loved coding, I was good at it, and I put in countless hours to become the best I could be. Finally, after years of hard work, I got my chance. I applied to a huge company in the US, and the recruiter emailed me. "Congratulations, you've been selected for an interview." I was beyond excited. I pictured myself living abroad, earning a great salary, and working alongside top professionals. But then, the interview happened. I remember it like it was yesterday. I opened Zoom and 3 native English speakers appeared on the screen. They started talking, and it felt like someone hit fast forward. I couldn't understand a thing. The first question came, "Jake, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your experience in software development?" I froze. I knew exactly what I wanted to say in my head, but the words just wouldn't come out. I mumbled, yes, I am, software. I do coding, many projects. Good, I am very good." The silence that followed was painful. They asked me another question, but I couldn't answer that one either. Eventually, one of them smiled politely and said, "All right, Jake. Thank you for your time." I knew what that meant. I didn't get the job, not because I wasn't skilled, but because I couldn't speak English. That day, I truly realized the power of English. It's not just a language, it's the key to your dreams. And I didn't have that key. I felt ashamed, embarrassed, angry at myself. For years, I told myself, I don't need English. I'll just be great at what I do. But in that moment, I saw the truth. Without English, I was invisible. That night, I made a decision. I was going to learn English, and I was going to do it fast. Most people, when they start learning, immediately sign up for expensive courses. I didn't. I had already tried those, and they didn't work. A year earlier, I had paid for an online English class. The teacher had me memorize endless vocabulary lists, do grammar drills, and study boring rules. But after 3 months, when I tried to speak, even after months of studying, I still couldn't hold a basic conversation in English. That's when I realized expensive classes weren't the solution. If I really wanted to learn English fast, I needed a different approach. I needed something that actually worked in real life. So I came up with my own 5-month method, and now I'm going to share it with you, step by step. Part 1. The first 15 days. Most beginners make the same mistake. I made it too. We think we need to learn more words to speak better. I believed that if I memorized 1,000 new words, I'd become fluent. But the truth is, I already knew hundreds of words, and still couldn't speak. So for the first 15 days, I didn't study any new vocabulary. Instead, I focused on something far more effective, learning how to use the words I already knew. Here's exactly what I did. 1. I created a survival sentences list. I sat down and asked myself, what do I actually need to say every day? I wrote out 50 simple real-life sentences like, "Hi, how are you?" Can you repeat that? I don't understand. I'm learning English. I need a coffee, please. Then, every morning, I read those 50 sentences out loud. Not once, not twice, but 10 times. At first, my mouth felt stiff and slow, but after 5 days, those sentences became automatic. 2. I started talking to myself in English. This was one of the most powerful habits I built. Every day, whenever I was alone, I spoke to myself in English. In the shower, I'd say, "I'm taking a shower." "The water is hot." "I feel relaxed." While cooking, "I'm making eggs." "I like eggs." "They're easy to cook." Yeah, it felt silly at first, but I realized this was my private classroom. No one was watching. No one was judging. And within a week, my brain started thinking in English. 3. I practiced 5 sentences a day. With a twist. Each day, I picked 5 sentences from movies or real conversations, but I didn't just read them. I copied them exactly. I repeated each sentence 10 times, matching the native speaker's tone, speed, and pronunciation. This helped me improve my accent and start sounding more natural. By the end of those first 15 days, something amazing happened. I stopped translating in my head. I could say simple sentences fluently and confidently, but this was just the beginning. Part 2. Real practice begins. After fixing my biggest mistake, thinking more words meant better speaking, I was finally ready to move forward. I could speak basic sentences without thinking, and I felt more confident. But I didn't want to stop there. I wanted real conversations. I wanted to understand native speakers without having to translate. I wanted to speak naturally and fluently. So I came up with a new plan, a method that completely changed the way I practiced. And if you follow it, I promise you'll improve faster than you ever thought possible. Here's what I realized. The problem wasn't that I didn't know enough words. The problem was that I couldn't use those words quickly and naturally in a real conversation. So I started using something I now call the question and answer method. It's simple, but incredibly effective. Step 1. Ask yourself a simple question in English. Step 2. Answer it immediately, without overthinking. Part 3. Building fluency with simple practice. Step 3 in my journey was repeating the process, but always with different answers. For example, I started with an easy question. What did you do today? At first, my answer was short. I worked, but I pushed myself to say more. I worked on my project. I worked on my project for 3 hours. I worked on my project for 3 hours. Then I took a break. I worked on my project for 3 hours. Then I took a break and had some coffee. Every time I answered, I added more details. This trained my brain to think in English and speak more naturally, without hesitation. Another example. What did you eat for breakfast? First answer. I ate eggs. Then, I ate eggs and toast. I ate eggs, toast, and a banana. I ate eggs, toast, and a banana because I was really hungry. I ate eggs, toast, and a banana because I was really hungry, and I love eating a big breakfast. I did this exercise every day for at least 30 minutes. My speaking became faster, my sentences got longer, and most importantly, I stopped translating in my head. Part 4. Fixing my pronunciation. One of my biggest challenges was pronunciation. Even when I knew the words, I still had a strong accent. Native speakers could understand me, but I didn't sound natural. That's when I discovered the echo technique, and it changed everything. Here's how it works. I listened to native English from movies, YouTube videos, or podcasts. I paused the audio after each sentence. I repeated the sentence exactly the same way, with the same speed, tone, and emotion. For example, I found a short scene from a movie. The character said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I paused and repeated, "I don't know what you're talking about." At first, it was tough, but after repeating it 10 times, my voice started to sound more and more like the native speaker. Another example from a podcast. It was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk. I paused and repeated it over and over. I practiced this every day for 30 minutes. After 1 month, even native speakers started saying, "Wow, your English sounds so natural." Part 5. Learning vocabulary that sticks. I knew vocabulary was important, but memorizing long word lists didn't work for me. So I tried something better. The story method. Here's how it works. I chose 5 new words each day. I created a short, simple story using all 5 words. I read the story out loud 10 times. Then I used those words in real conversations. Let's say the new words were excited, invitation, party, arrive, surprise. My story might go like this. I was very excited because I received an invitation to a big party. When I arrived, I got a huge surprise. It was my birthday party. I did this every day. And after 3 months, I had learned over 1,000 new words without memorizing a single list. Part 6. Thinking in English. One of the biggest problems English learners face is this. They think in their native language and then try to translate into English. That's what makes speaking slow and awkward. So I trained my brain to think directly in English. Here's how I did it. Whenever I walked outside, I described everything around me, in my head, in English. For example, the sky is blue. The weather is hot. I see people walking. That man is wearing a red shirt. I made it a daily habit. No one could hear me, but my brain was practicing English every second. Part 7. Training my brain to think in English. Step 2 in my thinking in English practice was asking myself questions and answering in English. For example, what am I doing right now? I'm sitting in a chair, drinking coffee and writing in my notebook. Step 3 was keeping a daily journal in English. Every night I wrote about my day in English. At first, my sentences were very simple, but after a month, my writing became more natural and fluent. Then something amazing happened. I stopped translating. English words started to come naturally to my mind. One of the most powerful things I did was create a simple rule. Every day I had to speak English for at least 2 hours. No excuses. If I didn't have someone to talk to, I talked to myself. If I was short on time, I spoke while doing everyday tasks like cooking, cleaning, or walking. If I felt lazy, I reminded myself, English is my future. I can't give up. Part 8. My final breakthrough. Now that I had built strong habits around listening and speaking, I was ready to level up. But I also realized something very important. Just speaking wasn't enough. If I didn't understand grammar and sentence structure, I would keep making mistakes. And I didn't want to confuse people or sound unnatural. So I began paying close attention to how native speakers build their sentences. Every time I heard a sentence, I didn't just repeat it. I asked myself, why is this sentence structured this way? For example, I heard someone say, I've been learning English for 5 months. But in school I had learned, I am learning English for 5 months. That was a big eye-opener. I realized that the English we learn in school is often different from the way people actually speak in real life. So I started digging deeper. I studied tenses like the present, perfect, I have been learning, and asked, when do people use this tense? Why not just say, I am learning? Understanding those small details made a huge difference in how natural I sounded. I also started writing down useful sentence patterns I heard and practiced using them in my daily conversations. Part 9. Tackling tricky grammar. One of the hardest parts for me was prepositions. On the bus, but in the car. At night, but in the morning. Why? I started keeping a small notebook where I wrote down confusing prepositions and added real examples. Anytime I was unsure, I looked it up online or paid close attention to how native speakers used them. To take things even further, I improved my writing. Every night I kept writing in my English journal. At first it looked like this. Today I went to work. I was tired. I ate pizza. It was good. But I wanted to sound more natural, so I asked myself, how do native speakers write? I started reading blogs, books, and news articles to observe their writing style. Then I tried to copy that style in my own writing. Part 10. Mastering Pronunciation and Rhythm. One of the most effective techniques I used was shadowing. I found videos of native speakers, put on my headphones, and repeated every word immediately after them, trying to match their speed, tone, and pronunciation exactly. I did this for at least 20 minutes a day. In just a few weeks, my pronunciation improved a lot. Another great method that helped me was watching English movies with subtitles. But I didn't just watch passively. I paused after each sentence, repeated it out loud, and focused on mimicking the speaker's pronunciation, rhythm, and emotion. Little by little, my English started to sound more natural. English isn't just about grammar, it's about confidence learning. English isn't only about words and grammar, it's also about confidence. A lot of people know English, but they're too afraid to speak it. I made a choice. I wouldn't let fear stop me anymore. I decided I wouldn't be afraid of making mistakes. So I started speaking English every chance I got. At work, in stores, with friends. Anytime I had the opportunity. Even when I wasn't sure if I was saying something perfectly, I still spoke. And something surprising happened. People understood me. Even when I made small mistakes, they didn't laugh or correct me harshly. They listened. That gave me the confidence to keep going, facing my biggest fear. But there was still one thing that terrified me, speaking with native English speakers. I was scared they wouldn't understand me, or that I'd freeze and not know what to say. So I came up with a strategy. I chose 10 common conversation topics, like, how was your day? What do you do for work? What's your favorite food? I practiced answering those questions until I could speak fluently and confidently. Then I took the leap. I joined an online speaking group where people from different countries practiced English together. At first, I was nervous. But then I realized everyone was there to learn, just like me. We supported each other, practiced together, and even became friends. Learning started to feel fun, not stressful. Becoming a new person. As I reached the final stage of my English journey, I could feel a powerful change happening inside me. I was no longer the same person who got rejected because of poor English. I had grown, step by step, with daily effort, consistent practice, and the right mindset. Then something amazing happened. One day I was speaking to myself in the mirror, like I had done many times before. But this time was different. There was no hesitation, no translation in my head. The words just flowed. It felt like magic. But it wasn't magic. It was the result of months of focused practice. The real test. That same day, I decided to put myself to the test. I joined an online discussion group where people talked about real topics. I was nervous at first, but I told myself, "You've come too far to doubt yourself now." And then I spoke. The words came out clearly and confidently. I didn't struggle. I didn't freeze. I understood everything people said, and they understood me. They listened. They responded. Some even asked me follow-up questions. It was an incredible moment. That's when I knew. I was fluent. The final victory. 5 months after I started this journey, I applied again for my dream job. But this time, I wasn't the same Jake who had nervously walked into that first interview. I wasn't the guy who froze or stumbled over his words. No, this time I walked in with confidence. I sat in front of the interviewer, not as someone afraid of English, but as someone who had mastered it. I spoke clearly. I answered every question with ease. I wasn't just speaking English anymore. I owned it. And I could see it in their eyes. They weren't just impressed by my English. They were impressed by my effort, my growth, and my transformation. The call I'll never forget. A few days later, I got the call. It was the same company that had rejected me before. This time, they said the words I'd dreamed of hearing. "Congratulations, Jake. You got the job." That call changed my life. The moment, everything changed. "Jack, congratulations, you got the job." For a second, I couldn't believe it. My dream job. The same company that had once rejected me. Now they wanted me. And the salary? $5,000 a month. That was more money than I ever imagined earning. I just stood there, phone in hand, shaking, my eyes filled with tears. The first thing I did was call my parents. "Mom, Dad, I did it." My mother burst into tears, and my father, a man who rarely shows emotion, simply said, "We always knew you could." That moment hit me hard. I realized something powerful. I wasn't just doing this for me. I was doing it for them too. Giving back, with my first paycheck, I bought my father a beautiful watch, something he had always wanted but never bought for himself. For my mother, I got a gold necklace. She had sacrificed so much for me and our family. Now it was finally my turn to give something back. When I gave them the gifts, they refused at first. "You don't need to buy us anything, son," they said. But I shook my head. This is my way of saying thank you, for believing in me even when I didn't believe in myself. And at that moment I knew it was all worth it. Every struggle, every late night, every frustrating moment, every time I wanted to quit, it was all worth it. What I learned on my journey to fluency. Let me now share the key lessons that helped me become fluent in English in just a few months. Things that changed everything for me. 1. Mindset is everything. Most people fail to learn English because they believe they can't. I used to think that way too. But once I changed my mindset, everything changed. I told myself, English isn't hard, it's just a skill and I can learn it. I stopped saying, I'm bad at English, and started saying, I'm getting better every day. Because if you believe you can't do something, you'll give up. But if you believe you can, you'll find a way. 2. Surround yourself with English. I made English a part of my everyday life. I changed my phone's language to English. I watched English shows, listened to English music, even if I didn't understand every word. I followed English-speaking creators on social media. Every single day, I was feeding my brain with English. I also trained myself to think in English. Whenever I saw something, I'd name it in English. If I saw a car, I'd say, that's a blue car, it's moving fast. These small habits helped me grow my vocabulary naturally. 3. Speak without fear. Most people are afraid of making mistakes. But mistakes are how we learn. I used to be scared too, until I realized native speakers don't care if you make mistakes. They care that you're trying. So I pushed myself to speak. I spoke to shopkeepers in English. I asked strangers for directions in English. And when I was alone, I spoke to myself in English. The more I spoke, the more confident I became. 4. Active listening and shadowing. Listening is just as important as speaking. I trained my ears by listening to podcasts, audiobooks, and real conversations in English. But I didn't just listen. I practiced active listening. I paused and repeated what I heard. I copied the speaker's tone, speed, and pronunciation. This is called shadowing, and it made a huge difference. Shadowing. The technique that changed everything. One of the most powerful techniques I used was called shadowing. Shadowing means listening to a sentence and immediately repeating it, trying to copy the pronunciation, tone, and rhythm exactly. It felt strange at first, but it helped me speak more naturally and improved my accent and fluency in a big way. 5. Growing my vocabulary the smart way. In the beginning, I tried memorizing long word lists, but honestly, it didn't work. Instead, I changed my approach and started learning words in context. Rather than focusing on individual words, I focused on phrases. For example, instead of just memorizing the word happy, I learned useful phrases like, I feel so happy today, or that movie made me really happy. This made it easier to remember and actually use the words in real conversations. 6. Learning grammar. Naturally, no textbooks needed. I didn't spend hours with grammar books or worksheets. Instead, I learned grammar by using the language. Whenever I made a mistake, I wrote it down and corrected myself. For example, I used to say, he go to school. Then someone corrected me, he goes to school. That correction stuck with me, and that's how I learned, by doing, not by memorizing rules. 7. Consistency beats perfection. A lot of people make the mistake of waiting until they're perfect before they start speaking. That's the wrong approach. I didn't wait. I started speaking English from day one, even when I only knew a few words. And I made a personal rule. Do something in English every single day. Some days I spoke for 10 minutes. Other days I wrote a short paragraph. Sometimes I just listened to a podcast. The key was showing up daily, even on the days I didn't feel like it. You don't need expensive classes. You don't need a perfect environment. What you do need is a strong desire and a commitment to daily practice. Imagine your future self. Close your eyes and imagine this. 6 months from now, you're speaking English confidently and fluently. You're having real conversations. New opportunities are coming your way. And best of all, you feel proud of yourself. That future is possible, but you have to start today. Speak, listen, practice. Don't give up. This is more than English. This is about your life. Now I want to say something directly to you. If I can do it, you can do it too. It doesn't matter where you're starting from. It doesn't matter how bad you think your English is. What matters is that you start. Start right now. Yes, it will be hard. Yes, it will feel impossible at times. But believe me, the only thing standing between you and fluency is consistency. Stop doubting yourself. Stop waiting. Stop making excuses. Surround yourself with English. Speak it. Listen to it. Read it. Write it every single day. Make mistakes. Learn from them. Improve. One final truth. Remember this. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. So what will you choose? Choose discipline. Choose growth. Choose success. Your journey to fluency starts now. If this story inspired you, like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll be right here, walking with you every step of the way. Let's do this together.